Okay, let's have an agreement up front that this is not going to turn into a roast. Well, I tried. All right, I'm going to start with a question. You're all familiar with and aware of our Employee of the Year program. So my question is, what year was Dan Lockwood Employee of the Year? Who knows? Any? What's your guess, Pam? 1981. No, that's wrong. Who? 72. Who else? 77, 78. No, you're all wrong. No, but close. All right, Dan Lockwood, do you know? 1984. It's right on the plaque in the hallway next to the bathrooms over in the office. 1984. And guess who was right after that and right before that year? Bob LaCara was 83, and Skip Greggs was 85, and then the year after that was Gary Chisling. Where are you, Gary? And then right after that was Rosa Reichert. That was her old name. She's had a lot of names. Right, Rosa? Okay. I just had to do that. I'm disappointed that you didn't know your year. He said he thought he deserved it every year, and he's right, he did. And he would have been a member of the President's Club when it was started in 2002, had you. Anyway, you know, our lives are like a novel. You know, they have a beginning, a middle, and then there's toward the end, the last phase of our lives. That's just how the good Lord designed it. Dan has been a huge part of my personal middle, just like Gary Chisling, for the longest period of time, in round figures, 30 years. And that's a huge segment of anyone's life. And I'm just so very grateful that he was a part of it and still is a part of it. You should know that in 1972, Dan was the first person that we hired after I became a partner with Earl Horner. But how many of you would know why we chose Dan to come on board? What is it, Lisa? His ability to use an adding machine at the counter was unbelievably fast and remarkable. So in the world that we live in today, these kinds of things are like, what are you talking about? You know, I don't even have an adding machine anymore. I got it on my phone. But that was one of the things. And of course, he's a smart guy, for sure. And we're just happy because he always made things fun for us as well. And so anyway, we had a lot of experiences during that time. I know there's going to be a lot of other stories, so I'm going to kind of keep myself focused here. Are you the one that when I sent the fax to the Middle East, when you were over there, right after the United States Air Force bombed Gaddafi in Libya? They were trying to kill him, but they're not allowed to kill him according to law. So I sent him a fax that said, I think we should investigate turning those bomb cavities into swimming pools. Can you check it out for us? You didn't think that was very funny at the time. It wasn't very funny. Yeah. So, we all suffer with our own versions of humanity and life, and Dan and I have suffered a lot together. But we also grew together during the past 40 years, 4 decades rather. Dan is 100% orange and blue every day that he worked here. What's on on the plaque here is very significant from that. When I first found out about it about a month ago, I asked him, where in the world did all this come from? And at some point a little bit later, I think we should read it to the group. I'm also most grateful for Mike Dooley's suggestion that we honor Dan in this way, because it hadn't occurred to me, even though now it's an obvious thing. So without any further ado, Mr. Dooley, why don't you come up and give him your thoughts?
Thank you. So Danny, my man. Dan, for those of you that don't know, Danny hired me for my first full-time job when I was 17 years old, and that was 43 years ago. So that's a long time. And Dan he's always been brilliant from my perspective. He's such a sharp and witty and smart guy, and he's always been a brilliant problem solver. And he was instrumental in teaching all of our teammates how to solve problems creatively and thinking outside the box. And I think that that's something that we've learned over the years and developed, but he was great at it, always developing win-win solutions for our customers. Dan was always a nice guy and everybody liked him, but he was a tough son of a bitch too, I can tell you that. He would stand up to anyone for any customer that disrespected an employee or cussed at an employee or a vendor or anything like that. So he's a nice guy, but he's a tough guy too, and we respect him for that. Danny was always fun to be around, sometimes too much fun to be around, but we'll just leave that one there for as far as that goes. Danny cared and took care of all his people. I mean, you knew if we worked late, it was 6 o'clock and we're working and whatever it is, you'd be working in the back, you'd come up to the front there and there'd be pizza there. You know what I mean? And where'd that come from? Oh, Danny and Bill got us some pizza and sodas and all that kind of stuff. And it was just, you just knew that you were appreciated for doing what you were supposed to be doing. He was a force to be reckoned with on our team and made a tremendous positive contribution during his 30-year tenure. Danny served in the Air Force, and so I know that he'll know what I'm talking about when I say that, you see, when you're in the military and you go on active duty, I'm going to wait for this plane to go. You're allowed to list a different address than where you're currently living from your home address, right? And this address would be called your home of record or your permanent address. And well, Danny's not been living at Team Horner for quite a while now, and he's found a great home at Century Industries where he's grown and thrived. We know he loves it there, but to us, Team Horner will always be Danny's home of record as far as we're concerned. So congratulations, Dan. We love you, buddy.
Thank you, Mike. Who else would like to say something? Darren, you want to come up?
I had to switch glasses. So before I talk, I had a customer through Gretchen send something in. This is, you gotta find it, sorry. This is from Lisa from Fountain Blue. I know today he will be inducted in the Hall of Fame, and I'll not be there to tell him personally how he's inspired me throughout the years. I can say with great confidence, Dan has inspired many people. Greatness in action through accomplishment, challenges, and outcomes. One of my favorite quotes, beautiful souls are shaped by ugly experiences. Every time I see Dan, we give each other a big hug, and then Dan and I will sit and shoot the breeze no less than half an hour. I may see Dan only twice a year, but we pick up like we just spoke a day earlier. I've been in the business almost 30 years, and if asked who made an impact on me in our business, I would say Dan Lockwood. So I say thank you, Dan. You deserve this professional accomplishment, and so honored to be part of your journey. With love and high regard. That's from Lisa at Fontainebleau. Okay. So Danny, most stories that I have are still covered under my signed NDA from the great states of Nevada, Oregon, California, and of course, here in Florida. Our long relationship started here in Fort Lauderdale in the summer of 1993. Danny welcomed me on board and immediately took me under his wing. Running marketing and helping with the sales group was my role. My tutoring consisted of call sheets, green bar reports, sales meetings, and there were plenty of Lockwoodisms. Anybody remember the black bamboo from Jim Cecil? Or it's not what you pay for it, it's what you sell it for. Or how about this little gem? Danny? The old Team Horner profit finder, how to find profit on cost versus profit on selling price. Sometimes, Danny, our relationship felt like episodes of some of our favorite TV sitcoms. There was the one on the cruise. Okay, not that one. Danny and I taught a class a long time ago on the NSPI cruise. We were supposed to teach on board, but it got moved to the swimming pool, and it was too hot, so we wound up teaching the class between 2 queen beds in a hotel room. Talk about tight quarters. And then there's the one where Danny hit my company truck at a photo shoot. And I think that was the 3rd car accident that week, and that was that big conversion van that he had. Gary had a matching conversion van, I believe, at that time. It's really hard to forget the time that Danny outdrove a Hall of Fame hockey player at the Nextel All-Star Pro-Am tournament, where we got to play with Frank Mahovlich, who was also a Canadian senator. But Danny, we certainly had many, many memorable times, some of which I can discuss. We'll just leave it right there. Danny, your pride for our team runs very deep. I'm happy that you're inducted into the Hall of Fame. And as a Yankee great said, Billy Martin, I may have not been the greatest Yankee to put on a uniform, but I am the proudest. And I think I can safely say that we could not be prouder of our friend, colleague, and mentor. Many, many congratulations.
Okay, it's random. Who's next? Linda.
Yes. Let's put that there. Okay. That's going to come down a bit. Wow, Danny. I'll keep it brief. When I joined what was then Horner Discus International back in 1993, Team Horner was much smaller than it is today, but I saw right away that it had a lot to teach me. Luckily, there were some great mentors to learn from, and today's honoree is certainly one of the greats. Right from the start, Danny made a big impression on me, not just because of his gregarious personality and great enthusiasm for our industry, although those are all traits that he certainly still possesses today. What really struck me was his unique way of managing by walking around, instantly making everyone feel at ease and included. It didn't matter what your role was or how new you were. Danny was and is real and authentic with everyone just the same. He cared about what was going on at every level. This was his way of seeing how he could help us all improve. Dan has always communicated with a spirit of encouragement and a passion for winning the customer's loyalty. What's even more notable is that he has continued to care about Team Horner and everyone here. He still wants to help us be better. Dan could teach a masterclass in sales for sure, but he is also a natural-born coach, making a difference in helping people grow and thrive. Wait for it. Making a difference in helping people grow and thrive is a great legacy that will continue to compound for years to come. Congratulations, Danny, on this well-deserved recognition.
Okay, who's next? Gary.
So it was about a year ago that I was in Danny's seat, but today is not about me, it's about Dan Lockwood. If I go back to 1978, this was 6 years after Dan's journey began. Dr. Bill is the one who hired me, but Dan is the one on a day-to-day basis that gave me direction and insight, which at that time I didn't know a lot about a company we called Horner Equipment. The trio of Dan Lockwood, Bill Kent, and Bob LaCara are the ones who provided the foundation for success of what we know today as Team Horner. So if you know Dan and you know me, for sure you know that our personalities are quite different. But our traits, our aces and spaces, complemented one another. As the years went by, we worked closer and closer together, especially when we became vice presidents. Dan was always practical, sometimes a lot emotional, but he and I didn't always agree, but somehow we made it successfully work. I remember our breakfast meetings at Brothers Restaurant. I remember our one-on-one, what we called one-on-one lunches, where we would plan and strategize and solve all of our problems. I remember discussing ways to convince Bill that our way was better. I remember Dan's mean black Firebird Trans Am that everyone thought was the coolest car in town. I also remember comparing notes and sharing stories about the experiences of parenthood. We eventually both became grandparents, so it's easy to relate today when he so often and proudly talks and shares pictures of his grandchildren, usually with amazement about the things they say and do. One thing we had in common back in the day was that we were both competitive, especially in sports activities. Horner Equipment played in softball and basketball leagues, some which we were in over our head, and volleyball at some of our company picnics, and also right here in this backyard expo where we had a volleyball court. Individually, I got the better of him playing racquetball and ping pong, but didn't stand a chance on the golf course. We also both shared in common a belief and strong desire to serve our customers. Three things that Dan taught me that I'll always remember. The first word that I ever learned coming into the industry was Cycolac. And Dan used to always talk about Cycolac. If you remember those, Rosie, you may remember, I see you shaking your head. When we had our basic training, Dan would always bring up that word to the new employees, like in Cycolac fittings. And he said it in a way to think, who in the world ever made up this word? He also taught me how to jump high, or high jump. I had only been employed 1 month when Dan's baseball team, the New York Yankees, were playing my team, the Boston Red Sox, in a playoff game, with the winner advancing to the playoffs. It was the 7th inning, and Bucky Dent hit a 3-run homer that gave the Yankees a 3-2 lead, and Dan went leaping over the counter, just like we have here, and it's indelibly remembered to this day, and we talk about it now and then. The bragging rights didn't stop there, because the Yankees went on to win the World Series that year, and if you follow baseball, you know they've won several after that. Lastly, it wasn't until I met Dan that I'd ever heard of something called a woof sandwich. I'm looking at Ron Burr because Ron knows what I'm talking about as well. If you've ever eaten with Dan, you will have witnessed speed eating that could take on the likes of Joey Chestnut. A woof sandwich. And while you're deciding which corner to start on, he's already devoured the whole thing. There are many great stories, some which I don't remember, actually some that were brought up today, which is cool. What better way to recognize Dan for his 30-plus years of dedicated service than his induction into the Team Horner Hall of Fame. And personally, I am very happy for you, as most, I'm sure everybody is here. I'm also happy for me and honored to be included with you and the others that eventually become a Hall of Fame inductee. Thanks, Dan.
So who would like to follow that? Ron Burr. Here, I'll move the microphone up a little higher.
I started my Team Horner journey in 1978, answered an ad in the paper that said, "Growing swimming pool distributor wants counter help." What a bogus ad that was. I started in the warehouse, and that's where I was, you know, and it was really a tough job, but I needed a job because my wife and I were getting married, so I said, well, I'll take the job for a couple months, and stayed around for 18 years, so. But I can remember that one day I was out in the warehouse pulling orders, and I heard my name called to the office, and Mr. Lockwood had called me in there and said, "Ron, would you like to help me in the purchasing department?" And I said, well, this is pretty cool to get me out of the warehouse. I'll get a desk job and push a pencil. This will be great. He said, no, we have a tablet here for you to go out and check inventory. A tablet? Wow. He said, yeah, here, take this tablet and go out and check inventory. And when you have lots to look at, go take this one out and check inventory. So he taught me how to go out and look at inventory. One of the things he taught me was when I was out there taking inventory was, you don't have to count all the small bins. Just go up and shake them and see. You can tell how much is in there. We did that all the time on inventory. It was never accurate. Sorry. But I can remember, and Dan taught me so much. As he moved on to different areas in the company, I went into purchasing, and I was so grateful for all the training that you gave me. And I, too, remember the basketball team that you and Dave Schock organized. You said it would be a great idea for us to have a basketball team here, so let's get out and let's run. And you ran us like crazy, and then you ran us down to Holiday Park, and we played these monsters. It was awful. I don't think we showed up for the second half. I think we left, and I don't think we ever played again. So I wanted to thank you for that, because my back has never, ever been the same. And you know, oh, yeah, like you really care, yeah. Hey, I don't come where you work to heckle you, so, you know. And I do remember the wolf sandwiches. Gary kind of stole that from me, but one thing I remember is that we got paid to eat lunch. When we were out there pulling orders, we were eating sandwiches, you know, and now, whenever I eat lunch at home, my wife tells me, you don't have to wolf it down. You don't work for Bill Kent anymore. But anyways, a lot of good memories, Dan. I'm really proud of you and really grateful that you are being inducted into the Hall of Fame, and you really deserve it. You taught so many of us as we came on board here at Horner in the early days, down in the 810 building. There was a lot of stuff going on, but you taught us a lot. And so congratulations, you really deserve it. Thank you.
Well, just to correct Mr. Burr, the reason that we served lunch for at the company's expense is because we didn't have anybody to back up anybody else. And the business needed to go on when the customers walked through the door. So from 1972 till around 1982, every employee of the company had a free lunch. How about that? So who would like to go next? Jose, come on up, buddy. I'll bring it down.
So I'll tell you a quick basketball story. Danny knew I played a lot of basketball, so he says, "Hey man, I'm coaching my little girl's team. Can you come out and help me out one practice?" So I come out, I help him out a little bit. He goes, "Hey man, can you come up on the game on Saturday?" I'm like, all right. I show up Saturday, and he gives me the clipboard. He goes, "You're the coach." Apparently, I yelled too much. So, but anyway, I started back in 1993 also. So I remember being out in the warehouse, and Danny was a little crazy, but I liked him. And I remember one day in passing, he said something to me about, maybe one day you can be in sales. And in his mind, that was a compliment. But in my mind, I'm thinking of that guy with the plaid suit, at the used car lot, trying to trick people out of money. And I'm thinking to myself, nah, I don't think so. But as I go to events, I see how the customers, a lot of them in the crowd that came out to honor Danny, would look at him and Skip and Bill, and they would look at him with respect. And then as time goes on, I'm watching them do their thing, and, the Dannyisms comes out, like take care of your customers, always take care of them first. You don't have a business without a customer. And he's not trying to trick them out of money. He's trying to help them. We grow together, all that good stuff. So now in the back of my head, I'm thinking, yeah, this is a career path I could probably follow. Fast forward a couple of years, he gives me an opportunity. And to tell you the truth, I probably wasn't ready for the job. I know for a fact I was not good at it. But Danny put a lot of time and effort into me. And, here I am 28 years later, still doing the same thing. So I learned something. But I'm not unique. Danny has been a mentor to a lot of people. That's his legacy. And, this year I lost my dad, and you realize that's all you really have is your legacy. So with Danny, you can live comfortably knowing that your legacy is going to live beyond your years. And not just with me. I could see Scott out there. There's a lot of people who would tell you that Danny was their mentor. Me, Danny was more than a mentor. I always call him my business dad. So I do want to take an opportunity to say thank you for giving my opportunity, and thank you for the time and effort you put in. You didn't have to do that, but you did it with happiness. So thanks.
Okay, who's next? Matt.
All right. So back in 1989, 88, 90, somewhere around there, my wife Sherry worked for Twin Lakes Pools. She still works there. I think she's got about 40 years in. So, but I knew Earl, I knew Mike, Susie Anderson, a lot of people in the pool business, just from hanging around her. And I always heard them talking about this guy, Danny Horner. So, I didn't think anything of it. And eventually I met Danny, and we got to know each other. We became friends. We had a lot of fun back in the day. But it had to be at least a year, maybe 2 years before I realized he wasn't really Danny Horner. He was Danny Lockwood. So we fast forward a couple years to 1992, and my wife, Sherry, she kept bugging me. She's like, Danny's after me. Horner's acquired this company, this heat pump company, and they want you to do service. They need somebody to do service, and they want you to come in and interview. And I'm like, I was happy in my career path doing air conditioning, and I'm like, the last thing I want to do is get into the pool business. So, but Danny was persistent. And eventually I came in, I interviewed, and 30 years later, here I am. So, Danny Horner, thank you for being persistent.
Come on up, Earl.
In case there's anybody here who doesn't know me, my name's Earl Snap. I'm the president of Twin Lakes Pools. All right. I first came to Horner Equipment in 1974. All right. And I'll tell you what happened was I had this Italian guy. I've been in the pool business for the hotel business for a couple of years. Made a bunch of money, and I figured if I was going to work 70 hours a week, what would be a better job than hanging out at the pool with these pretty girls? You know, have no stress, no problems, and get a nice tan, right? Make a lot of money. So anyway, I was looking for a pool business, and it's this guy named Carlo Ragucci, right? He had, I think he had 18 pools, and he sold me the route for $10,000, right? So I went ahead and bought the thing. I go to Horner to get supplies. Melody Pools at the time was selling chlorine and stuff, right? And that's back when they were in the garages across the street. So I go in there, and that's when I first met Dan. And the first thing he tells me was, yeah, Carlo Ragucci was going to sell me that same business for $6,000, right? So anyway, make a long story short, we became friends, and he's probably the greatest salesman of all times. I mean, he and I have been best friends for over 46 years. Half his family has worked with me, all right? So I know him pretty well. And I know that Bill was a little bit worried sometimes about him giving me too good a deal. Well, let me tell you what the real truth was, right? A couple of times I'd come to him and I'd say, geez, I can buy the stuff at Proline cheaper, I can buy it somewhere else cheaper. You know what his answer to me was? If you can't screw your friends, who can you screw, right? And I'll tell you what, but he did it in such a charming way, okay? That was, like I say, he's the greatest sales guy I've ever known. Wherever he goes, he helps turn the companies around, helps them make a profit. And we've been, you know, we've had a fascinating life together, the two of us. And all I can tell you is you're one of my best friends in life. And I appreciate Horner Equipment, and I appreciate everything you've done for the pool industry. And you've helped me immensely to stay in this business and stay profitable. Thank you.
Okay, who's next? Mr. Van Kirk.
Well, same as was got much to say, but Danny, let's go back. I mean, starting business, Horner was our guys to go. Team Horner was Bill Kent, Danny, and Bob LaCara. Bill ran operations, did the billing, was the salesman, Bob, and Dan took care of everything else. And, you know, someone mentioned Dan always had an upbeat attitude. Never. All the times to this day. Always good things to say no matter what was going on. Always positive. If you needed him, he helped you out. If you couldn't do it, he'd find a way to help you out. And 46, 47, like Chip said, been around. There's a lot more, but I don't remember because I hung out with Danny a lot during those times. So, you know what I mean, Bill? So, but he's a great guy. And also, I made this comment earlier to you guys. This is a great gift from you guys to him. It's fabulous because he did work and earn it, but you guys recognized it. And for me, from that, the support from Horner. And the truth is, Horner took care of us when we started because we started with nothing. Bill fronted us, took care of us. And that's what you bring to the whole thing. When you hear all these guys and the years they got, that's fabulous for the Team Horner. So, as Van Kirk, we appreciate and Dan's friendship. Thank you very much.
Okay, who's next? Steve, come on up.
Oh, really? Steve Miller from New Image Pools. Met Danny probably back in the early 80s, working across the street. I can't remember the people he worked with, but it was always pretty hectic. He probably was pretty good with the calculator, as they said earlier. Over the years, I started my own business, and Danny was always there for me. If I had a problem, he'd direct me down to Paul. We'd get it worked out. No matter what I ever had to do down here at Horner, he was the man to go to. As far as a salesman, he didn't have to sell me much. He knew I was loyal to him. His biggest problem that he ever had was when he went to work for one of the competitors and came to try and get me to buy something. He had a very difficult time. And it was something he couldn't quite comprehend at the time, but he probably does now. Anyway, congratulations, Danny. You deserve it.
Who's next? We can't be done. You gonna come up? Okay, come on up, Dave. We have one granddaughter that looks like she wants to talk.
Just very quickly, like Matthew, my wife also works at Twin Lakes Pools, and we're part of that family. And with Earl's blessing, I was able to make my way to Horner. And if it wasn't for Danny, I would have never gotten through the door. So 18 years later, I'm still blessed to be here. I'm still blessed to be contributing. And you got to say thank you to the person who started it all. So thank you.
Okay, who's next? Tommy.
Yeah, I was about to do that. Hopefully everybody can hear me because I'm not used to talking on something like this. Danny and I go back almost 40 years. And I met him when I first was looking for a job. When I came down here from Philadelphia, I was working on a gunite crew for Anthony Pools. And that was a 10-year stint. Came down here with my father-in-law to introduce a new gunite rig. And I worked for SP Gunite, which was part of PBI at the time. Those 2 years finally got to me because it was a pretty dirty job and I was tired of smelling powdered cement. So I decided that, hey, it's time to look for an office job that's a little bit cleaner. I went to Twin Lakes, who we've been shooting pools for. Earl told me, hey, sorry I don't have anything for you, but go see Dan Lockwood at Horner Express. I said, well, okay, I'll take your word for it that maybe that'll work for me. So I went to Horner Express. I found it out of 5 different buildings. The one main building that I went into, there was a meeting going on between Danny, Gary, Bob LaCara, and Bill. And I asked if anybody knew Dan Lockwood, and they pointed you out to me. And I said, hey, I'm looking for a job. And we really didn't say too much at the time, but you told me to go see Bob Diaz in customer service. So I started off in the warehouse, worked my way up to driver. I didn't really have too many coincidences with Danny till I got into driving as well as, and also when I was a driver, Gary Chisling was my dispatcher who really helped me grow in that respect. And then Danny was customer service manager at the time. And while I was a driver, I was actually talking to customers and helping them realize that, hey, we didn't have this or that, and are you able to wait for it to come into stock? And that actually got me on the road to being Mr. Backorder to most of our companies that we deal with. And so when I stopped being a driver because of the fact that I was, I guess, talking so well to other customers, I came in customer service. Since I knew a lot about the pool business, working working with a gunite company, building pools, shooting pools, and I actually did some service work when I was in high school. At that time, I went into customer service. Jerry was my manager. Danny was the sales manager. And both of them really helped me grow during that time period. And I really want to thank both of you for being a part of my life. And it's an honor to know both of you. And congratulations.
Norman, are you coming up? Take your time.
Good evening, everybody. I'm not going to be long because I had a really rough day today, but I wanted to try to make back just to say congratulations to Dan. I ran all the red lights today because I see Jose down there. We used to drive together, but I'm still driving, still making deliveries. And it's weird because some days you get out on the road and it's a nice, easy day, and you get back a good time and you can do other stuff. Today, I really got beat up, and it's not about me, though. It's about Dan, so congratulations. Dan and I go way back. He and Mark Gordon pretty much gave me my first opportunity. Thank you for trusting me, believing in me. As I look around, I see a lot of I see Scott over there, a lot of people who has just been blessed by meeting Dan and him influencing what we do and how we approach stuff, and the philosophy that come from the top and the leadership of Team Horner has just been awesome. And I just want to take a minute and say congratulations, well deserved. We couldn't have done it without you. And God bless, and keep doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Norm came to us in 1988, he says. I'd have to go look it up, of course. Who's next? Danielle?
Yeah, well, hi everybody. Thanks for coming today. I didn't prepare anything, but as a Lockwood, we shoot from the hip. We tend to make it work. So I'm so proud of my dad, so proud to be a Lockwood. It's amazing to be able to work in the industry that he's in. And, when I was 15, Chuck, where are you, 14 maybe? I said, I need a job. He said, well, go clean pools for a couple weeks. And that taught me a lot, that I did not want to clean pools ever again. So that was quick. And, started working retail when I was 15, probably worked for a good amount of people who are sitting out here. And it was really great to see how many people and how many people's lives that my father touched. And it's just, everybody always greeted me with such a warm welcome. It's just truly been amazing. And I'm so happy for my dad to be here back today. I know this means a lot to him. Horner's always a big part of his heart. And happy my sisters and my kids could be here to see it and hear everybody be so appreciative. And that's it. So Bill, Mike, thank you. Darren, it's awesome. Congrats, Dad.
All right, who's next? Uh-oh, here it comes. Louis.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I go way back with Dan. Back in 1990, I worked for Ike's. And I replaced the Dan McCleary, and I met a Dan Lockwood. And I worked for Ike's for a couple years. And I remember like the fourth day I was there, this guy came in with bagels. His name was Bob LaCara. And then 2 days later, Dan Lockwood came in, and he says, yeah, I'm managing this account. Let's go to lunch. So that's where we got our fusion together, per se. I stayed at Ike's for a couple years, and I left the pool industry. And I got into the jewelry industry, which was my dad's. And then one day, it was 1991, I left Ike's. And then one day, just out of the blue, in 1996, my phone rang, and it was Danny. And off and on, I spoke with him. But in 96, he calls me, and he goes, hey, why don't you come on by? I want to talk to you about something. So came into Horner, and he put me in front of the purchasing department. And he says, you got to win these guys over because I'd like to bring you in as the inventory manager here. So I got grilled in purchasing, and Dan offered me a job then. And 25 plus years, I'm still here. We didn't have all fluffy and kisses, needless to say, because Danny was always on this side with sales and customers and everything, and I'm on this side with inventory management and trying to tighten the screws and get the turnovers and things. So we butted heads a few times, but all in all, Danny taught me a very important lesson, and that was I was always a black and white guy because I was an auditor. And Danny taught me about gray, and he told me how gray kept everything together. And he taught me that, and it's something I never lost sight of. He's like a dad to me. I had some personal things going through at Horner. He was by my side, and I'll never forget him for that. And like everybody else here, he's had an impact on our lives, and I love the guy, and this is a proud moment, and I'm very glad it happened. Thank you.
All right, who's next? Is that it? No one else? 5, 4. So, Dan, it looks like we're done with that stage. We've got the plaque, and it's really something that's quite meaningful because when I read this about a month ago, I asked Dan, where in the world did this come from? And back 15, 20 years ago, we were doing what we called 360s, performance appraisals, and where each person was reviewed anonymously by those above him, below him, and peer group. And this is where it came from. So before Dan talks, I'd like to read it. And it came as from 2005, is that correct? 2005. Dan has a better grip on our industry than any other single person this side of Bill. The knowledge of the products, politics, and players that Dan can externalize is impressive and second to none. And that to the decades-long knowledge of our company and its culture, he is an indispensable component of Team Horner. The next one says, Dan's strongest talents are selling, teaching, and mentoring. He has a complete understanding of how to get the best out of our employees. The next comment, his actions appear to always have been with the collective good in mind. He's willing to make sacrifices for the good of the many over the good of the few. Next one. Dan's continued drive for customer satisfaction goes beyond words. Creative, he inspires other people. Next one. Dan is the best inspirational leader we have. When you look around the team, there is no company that he hasn't influenced in some way. a great mentor to many, and he isn't afraid to share his experience with you. Great sales personality, energetic and upbeat attitude, down to earth, and easy to talk with. The next one, dedicated to the team. When he bleeds, its blood is orange and blue, and not because he's a gator. So, and Dan's final words are, my time was filled with many opportunities, choices, and decisions, some life-changing, while others insignificant at the time. My advice for you today is choose wisely, for tomorrow's harvest is planted today. So Dan, please come up.
Look at that plaque. Got the same shirt on. All right, thank you. Okay, what's the odds over and under on crying? Okay, first of all, thank you all for being here. It's especially my family and my grandkids. They're probably saying, Papa, Papa. And some of the customers that I've done business with, still doing business with with a different shirt. But I didn't want to wear, I wanted to be a neutral shirt. So a lot of people I wanted to talk about have already spoken, but I'll throw in some fillers. When I did get that job on the ad machine in 1972, my hourly pay was $3 an hour. And it stayed that way for about 3 years, so $3 an hour. But we did okay. I'd like to say thank you to my wife, Letha. My youngest daughter, Heather, flew in from Texas, surprisingly, had no clue. My other daughter, Megan, with Sadie Jane, Caitlin, Danielle, and my favorite son-in-law, he's the only one here, right? Yeah, Adam. AC/DC Pools. I'm doing a commercial for him. So, and then Danielle was nervous, so she forgot about that guy Jack Hunter at ChemQuip when she worked from him. She went to Plantation High School and used to walk across the street and do paperwork and filing for Jack out of high school. So I'm not very consistent, as Gary said. I rather be different every time so they can't guess what I'm thinking, Okay. Inspirational people, but we'll get to people later. But the innovation that Bill gave us and the challenges that we faced, we were a mom and pop pool distributor. We had fittings, we had bleach. We didn't have much. We didn't have Hayward. We used to bootleg it. But then all of a sudden, Bill and Earl decided to go their own ways, and the story I remember that they both called me and said, I'm buying that SOB out tomorrow. Are you with me? And I was 25 years old, and I said yes to both of them. And none of us would have been here if Earl bought it, trust me. So all of a sudden, Bill Kent, a rocket scientist and college guy, and me with the ad machine, no forklifts, no pallet jacks. We hired these young college graduates, and Mr. Burr over there, I believe, was a music major. So he got his arms tuned up lifting sand off the truck one bag at a time. And the wolf sandwiches were awesome, especially when we got donuts and bagels on top of them. But here's some of the things I'll talk about fast. Heat pumps. Anybody out there selling heat pumps? Yeah. We had a heat pump called Drake Heat Pump. They must have weighed 1,000 pounds. How Bob LaCara, our only driver, he was 50. And these young kids I see with pallet jacks and forklifts, Bob could unload 400,000 BTU heaters in these Drake heat pumps by himself at 50. We had one truck. The second truck we bought, we were so proud, was a used mail truck. How's that? Then we brought in these spas. We went out to California and got in the spa business. It was the hit of California. And then we brought them back, and we started making our own portable spas, Steve Roberts. And then there's a guy sitting right there, owes me a lot of money, Mike Heft, one of my best friends. I got a few best friends here. Mike delivers portable spas for a living. I sold him a trailer off of the yard, and he was supposed to give me a penny a spa. I'm waiting on the damn money. And we got in the spa business. We're a pool distributor of equipment. Now we're in the heat pump business. We're in the spa business. And then we had this thing that used to be painted up on the roof. It said Lectrinator Chlorinator. What the hell is that? It was a thing you put salt in the pool and made bleach. It's now autopilot, for those of you who are working at autopilot. Another, who the hell thinks of that? Then he hires this guy from California, Rod Guntherberg, to sell solar panels. And he comes to me. I was stupid then. I might have got stupider later. And he said, Danny, this guy's going to make more money than you, but you're still the boss. Okay, Bill, you know. So we had a guy who sold solar panels to homeowners for some of you guys. And then Mike Dooley and another guy used to go out and install them. It was called HIS, Horner Installation Sales and Service. We're in the solar business. Because Bill made friends with this guy, Freeman A. Ford, and Fafco Solar we're the only pool distributor in the country, I believe, to have solar panels. And then Bill he goes out in California and buys this company called Discus. Then he sends me out to Hornerize them. They're in Palo Alto. I thought I died and went to heaven. Hank Moore and his wife, Bev, they're living in a mansion. We're eating strawberries, and they're in the robes, driving Jaguars. I was like, oh, they're in for a shock after we buy them, Bill. So then that comes back here, and now it's called Worldwide, and a slight thing. And Bill was great at giving us adventures. So he gave me, he said, we both got divorced, I think, the same year one time, or no matter. And he goes, why don't you go travel? I said, sure, why? He said, I'll go over there. So guess where I got to go? The Middle East, Saudi Arabia. Awesome. Well, Bill says, I've been there. I said, really? He said, yeah, I've been in Bahrain. I said, Christ, Bahrain's like Miami Beach. Mike Dooley followed my footsteps. And then I had a pleasant trip. I went to Nigeria. I got off the plane. I thought I was dead. There was me. No, I'll tell them the PG version. So I get there. I'm scared out of my mind. I called the travel agent. I said, can you get me a plane back? And she said, yep. So about a day later, I'm on my way back. I saw my jet lag going that way, and I was going back. So that's enough of that. Okay. Bob LaCara, if you notice, there's donuts up here. When Maria, God bless Maria, I love you, and she said, what kind of cake you want? I said, can I have donuts? Because Bob LaCara was my mentor. Bill was the boss, but Bob LaCara, and I see Steve Miller, Timmy Van Kirk, a lot of you out there. Bob was our only driver, and he lived in Hollywood, and Steve Miller, if Steve ran out of Pac Fab skimmers, Bob would go to Ed Enan and take them from Enan Pools and bring them over and give them to Steve Miller. That's why Steve Miller was so loyal, is still loyal to Horner. Bob LaCara set the benchmark here on customer service. The customer is never wrong, and fix it, Lockwood, as he used to mess my hair when I had curly black hair. But I'm going to read some names just because they're important to me. Bob LaCara, Gary Chisley, Ron Burr, Skip Greggs, who can't be here, he's not feeling good. And I think Bill and Mike are sitting on Paul Fulmer's fountain. For those of you, Steve alluded to it, people would call me up with a problem like building a pool, and I'm like, I don't know, call Paul. And Paul Fulmer did probably as much for the pool industry. Again, Bill hired Paul, and he revolutionized the industry on many things. That SLAM system is still being used. I don't know why, but it doesn't matter. Paul was unique. One quick story, we would go to lunch with Paul. He would bring a cigar box and roll his own cigarettes in the restaurant. And everybody's looking over at us, thinks he's rolling joints, and he's just laughing. So, but But loyalty came up today. But I want to say, how about this for loyalty? Horner's been, let's just call it 50 years, close enough. Legacy Pools, PBI, Ike's Carter, the Van Kirks. Those are the 50-year club. AAA Custom, New Image, Earl Snap. Those are the 40-plus years. Who the hell has customers that long? Who would think those guys would live that long, Bill? You know. But that's loyalty. And then you saw employees with 18, 25, 30, 40 years here. Rosa's shaking her head. Rosa's been here for how long, Rosa? 37 years. Tom McLeod is probably the most popular guy in the pool industry because he answers more of the damn phone calls that come in here than all the rest of you combined. He told me one time we were having some battles. He said, I would follow Danny over a wall with a 45. It was like the biggest thrill I ever had of respect. Okay, a couple little more things. My wife, Letha, sold us a lot of tile. But where she fell in love with me, I don't know how I have this thing on women at times. We're in Chicago. We're doing the Men in Black routine. For those of you who weren't in that Chicago convention, we stopped the pool show every hour on the hour. The whole show's closed. They all came to watch us dance. Rosa, Don Smith, and I pulled Letha in on the deal so I wouldn't look as bad dancing, so she's worse, and 20 years later, we're still together. Let's make a deal. We had these conventions, and I remember Shelby Bruns, Exotic Pools, God bless his soul. I worked him hard. He had won a pump, and I said, Shelby, behind door 2 and 3 might be a trip to Hawaii. So Shelby got greedy, and he said, I'll trade in my pump for that door number 3. And you'd speak about orange and blue. He got the remnants of the orange and blue paint from that building instead of the pump. And then the books. Quick story, we were trying to hire a salesman, so Chuck Stone. Some of you may remember him. He was a pool builder, came in for an interview with Bill and me. And Bill said, what was the last book you read, Chuck? And Chuck said, Playboy. He didn't get hired. Okay, true story. I can't make this up. Who the hell can make these up, right? But then it came the books. And at times I had to defend Bill because Timmy probably said, your boss is a cheap son of a gun. I said, really? How much did you spend on reading books for your employees last year? We used to read books and get paid $1 a page. We read one book twice. But we had to do little meetings with it, but the books were pretty interesting. The Magic and Teamwork, the guy from the Orlando Magic. The Canoe Theory. It was a book about if somebody in your team gets hurt or sick, you got to pick up the oar and paddle for him. And I don't know if Norman's still here. At that time when we were reading the books, we had a real tragedy for Norman. And as strong as he is, we had to carry his load for a while. And then we had the best one, in my opinion, the Samurai Salesman. Other than the Horner, does anybody know what a samurai is? One who serves. So we read that book twice. Because what we were taught, him, to me, to them, you serve the customer. Bob LaCara taught me that. And that stayed with me for 50 years. The customer, you keep your eye on the ball, Norm, 110%. We used to hang up beach balls. Because when you take your eye off the customer, you're taking your eye off the ball, and they're going to go somewhere else. And the people that aren't here, some of them are here. Tom McLeod, Todd first. Todd's over making low-chlorine sanitizer, and his brother Kevin worked in the warehouse. Kevin couldn't really read, but he pulled orders. I don't understand that one. But when we hired a new guy, I put him in the warehouse, and I go to Kevin and say, Kevin, keep your eye on this guy for a week and let me know. I'd go out there on Friday, he'd go. And that determines if that guy stayed or left. Because when I walked out or Bill walked out, they were hopping around, like bunnies. But what do they do when you turn your back? Kevin knew. God bless, I believe he's passed. Dave George, the big boy in the back, worked out here. His mom worked upstairs in bookkeeping, hired him for a summer. I guess he forgot how to get home because he's always here. Rosa, 2 Roses, that one and that one in Miami. Oh, my 2 Roses. I got to be careful because my wife is jealous of those 2. But Rosa, that one, we went to the Bahamas for an IDN convention and the hurricane hit. Shut down the Atlantis, except the casino. We're in the bathtub, not together. Freaking water's pouring down. And then the next night they cleared up, and the next thing I know, Rose and I are on the dance floor. We're having a pretty good time. You know, some of you know I had pretty good times until I got pretty stupid. I got home with all the damn glitter from her dress. I caught hell on that, but she can dance. I just followed, and they had a circle around us on the dance floor. That's what I remember. I also remember Rosa wasn't real happy at a job she had here, and she was walking out pissed off one night. I said, whoa, where are you going? So we ended up hiring her, bringing her over to Fort Lauderdale, Horner Equipment, and she's now just a branch manager. Gretchen is just a branch manager of 4 locations. She was a truck driver. Did you hear that? Bob LaCaro was 50 as a man. Gretchen was young. She was our first female truck driver. Now she runs 4 locations. Hard work, dedication, taking care of the customer, your attitude, determines your altitude, your attitude, okay? Chuck in the back. Chuck used to be a competitor of ours. And then he went out and cleaning pools, and he used to come over the counter. I always get this story wrong, and I think he got tired of the sun and the heat. And boy, what a lucky break that was. You know, life has a lot to do with luck. And finding guys like that are one in a million. And then Ray Tremblay, he's not here. He worked for Legacy. When Dan Essig would call me up and say, I got a problem on a commercial pool and I didn't have the answer, I'd call Ray Tremblay and he would give me the answer. I'd call Dan back. He said, man, you're good. I don't know. It's not who you are, it's who you know. Liz O in accounting. Downstairs in one of my old offices. I've had many offices on the first floor, and then I got one across the street in the stockade. But that's not for today. Kelly Corden, another one who worked here. She would write all these articles in the paper, newsletters, and FSPA papers. I said, man, that's awesome, Kel. And they had my name on it. She wrote it. They put my name on the bottom. Mark Patterson, you know he's not here. That son of a gun, he must be taking, whatever he eats, get some. He looks the same 35 years after he's been here. He weighs about 120 pounds, but I think he got an award at the Christmas party the other night, Unsung Heroes. There's a lot of unsung heroes at Horner. And I'm pretty much done except for this, my kids. My kids, when I look around the pool industry, my kids, Jose, the son I never got to have yet, Scott Knable, Jordan King, Don Smith, Rob DeMar. They came to me, Rob DeMar, he's kind of cocky, as you know. He wanted to be a salesman. I said, what am I going to do, fire one of my salesmen and make you the salesman? Sorry. And then I went to him and said, look, if you were married to my daughter, I would tell you to leave because you're stuck. And he did, and he's done well. So I see our Horner kids all over the pool industry. And I'm sure I forgot somebody, and I'm very happy, you know, I'm a Horner guy. It's hard working for other distributors and talk about Horner. It pissed them off. They should have took the message and learned from them, but they didn't. So I'm going to end with this. Thank you all for being here. I have I'm not Louis the laureate, but I have this little poem prayer I like to read. And for those of you who put up with me in my dark days? Thank you. This is from St. John the Baptist Church from the parish desk. The poem is entitled Anyway. People are unreasonable, illogical, and self-centered. Love them anyway. If you do good, people will accuse you of selfish or alternative motives. Do good anyways. If you are successful, you will win false friends, and true enemies succeed anyways. The good you do today will be forgotten tomorrow. Do good anyway. Honesty and frankness make you vulnerable. Be honest and frank anyway. The biggest person with the biggest idea can be shot down by the smallest people with the smallest minds. Think big anyway. People favor underdogs but follow only top dogs. Fight for some underdogs anyway. What you spend years building may be destroyed overnight. Build it anyway. People really need help, but may attack you if you help them. Help people anyway. Give the world the best you have, and you'll get kicked in the teeth. Give the world your best you have. You've got anyway. Give the world the best you've got anyways. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. God bless you all. Out.